Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and welcome to our webinar on the Nurse Practitioner programs at Azusa Pacific University. We're really excited that you're joining us here tonight and we look forward to sharing information on our programs. My name is Stephanie Hansen. I'm one of the admissions representatives who work with students who are interested in and applying to these programs. Joining me on our webinar is one of my colleagues, Dr. Amanda Thurman. Amanda is our Associate Chair of the APRN programs here at APU, and we're looking forward to sharing some information with you on our programs. We're hoping that as we share this information, that it will help you determine which of our programs is the best match for your career goals. As we get started, I wanted to mention that there is a Q&A box on your screen. Of course, Amanda and I are going to be offering lots of information. Hopefully, we'll be answering most of your questions as we go through the presentation. But if you have questions as we go along, just type those into that Q&A box. We do have some colleagues behind the scenes that if they're able, they'll answer some of those questions directly as Amanda and I are going through the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we'll try and circle back and address remaining questions if we have time for that. So let's get started. Our agenda for the evening is to share a little bit of information about the university and our School of Nursing. We're going to cover our various nurse practitioner programs. We're going to spend a little bit of time on some of our most frequently asked questions, and then we'll wrap up with next steps for those of you that want more information or are ready to apply to a program. So let's begin with some information about Azusa Pacific University in case some of you are not familiar with our university. APU was founded in 1899. It's a community of disciples and scholarships preparing to impact the world for Christ. So we're getting ready to celebrate our 125th anniversary. We have over 8,000 students who are currently enrolled at APU. We offer more than 200 in-person and online programs. We have several campus locations throughout Southern California. The educational experience at APU is built on 4 cornerstones. These are our core values, and they include Christ, community, scholarship, and service. So belief in Christ is central to all that we think and do and who we are. Azusa Pacific University is a Christian school. That does not mean that you have to share these beliefs if you attend our program, but it does mean that the staff and faculty will be Christian and those values will be integrated into the courses that are part of the program. We believe that in a profession like nursing, where you're caring for people, a Christian perspective can be extremely valuable. We also believe in community. We are a richly diverse people who value the worth of each individual. We have students of all different ages, stages, cultures, and backgrounds in this program. And I think that diversity adds to the experience that our students have while they're in our program. We value the fact that everyone has their own perspectives and past experiences that make them the unique person they are. And the knowledge that students gain from learning and working together in this community will further equip them to be an amazing nurse practitioner. That leads us to scholarship. That we are really committed to teaching excellence and preparing our students to excel in their field and be difference makers in the world. If you research nursing programs, you'll see that we're consistently ranked among the top nursing schools in the country. And then our last cornerstone is service. Service is important to us. So we feel that's something we're called to do. And there are opportunities for students to serve their communities as they complete their program. So let's turn to the School of Nursing specifically. I just want to make sure that you know that our School of Nursing is not new. We started our nursing programs in 1975. So we've been building on that foundation of excellence for the last 48 years. And I mentioned already that we are consistently nationally ranked for our programs, and we have a reputation of preparing exceptional nurse practitioners in our programs. We're also accredited by the following organizations: the WASC Senior College and University Commission, the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education, and the California Board of Registered Nursing. As you consider our program, these are just a few of the reasons you might choose APU. I mentioned our reputation. We also pride ourselves in having applicable course content for our students. We offer online and hybrid course offerings. And I think you'll see it is an expectation that students are working while they're in these programs. And so we want there to be some flexibility and different modalities for offering these courses. I think probably the thing that makes our program the most special are our faculty. Our professors are experienced and active in the field. This means they are out there working as clinicians in addition to teaching for us. And when I see them on campus with our students, I see them coming alongside our students, mentoring them. I know they look at our students as their potential future colleagues, and they want them to be excellent when they're out in the field. And so that is just something I see often in different ways that our faculty will invest in our students. And I mentioned that our schedules are flexible. We do want to accommodate your work schedules. We offer state-of-the-art classroom skills, health assessment, and simulation labs. And we also have a full-time clinical placement team that matches nearly 300 students in their clinical placements each semester. So we offer a number of different nurse practitioner programs and options for you. Our Master of Science in Nursing programs offer 4 NP options: adult gerontology, family, pediatric, and psychiatric mental health. We offer these same 4 options as postmaster's certificate programs. So if you already have an MSN and you're wanting to add a certification in a particular nurse practitioner area, that is an option with us as well. And then we have a BSN to DNP program, which is an accelerated program that combines the nurse practitioner coursework with our doctoral coursework. And in that program, there are 2 APRN tracks: the adult gerontology primary care NP program and the family nurse practitioner program. So our programs for our nurse practitioners are offered at 3 of our campuses. I mentioned earlier, we have a number of campuses throughout Southern California. These programs are offered at our Azusa Monrovia campus, our Inland Empire campus, which is in San Bernardino, and our San Diego campus. So that's a little bit of general information. I want to turn the presentation over to Amanda at this point to give a little more specifics about the NP programs that we offer.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, yes, I'm Amanda Thurman, and I'm the Associate Chair of the Advanced Practice Programs. I've been with Azusa about 7 years now and have really enjoyed the journey. So I'm happy to be sharing with you tonight about our programs. The first that I will discuss is the 4 areas that we have for your Masters in Nurse Practitioner programs. We are unique in that even though we do have a BSN to DNP program, we still offer the MSN option, which is really great for people that don't necessarily want to get their DNP right now or want to split it up and get the DNP later. So we offer that master's options, which many schools have gotten rid of, quite honestly, and are going straight to BSN to DNP. So you have here that we have the 4 programs, and most people do pick family because it gives you the most option to be a family nurse practitioner and the most variety. But one that's quite popular as well is our psychiatric mental health program, and that is quite popular as well. And when we talk about what makes a good candidate, I will mention that you do need to have psychiatric experience as a nurse. It's a very niche profession, and though it's quite popular and very in demand right now, We need to make sure that it's truly a passion and a calling for you, and that it's something you could see yourself doing for many, many years to come. So, and then of course we have the pediatric program as well, and adult gerontology, which treats people 18 and up. And so for those of you that might have a master's degree already in nursing, we have postmasters in each of these areas as well. And so that's less coursework, because we can usually take some of your coursework in, not always, but usually. And so that helps to make the program quicker. All right, what we have is a hybrid format. So what we've done, because I know all of you are working very hard out in the community, and we have hybrid format. So that means that for the classes that work well for online, they don't have a skills component or an in-person need, we have kept those online. Right now we're online synchronous, and eventually we hope to go online asynchronous with some of our courses. So we have an in-person component for lab, because we need to see you and teach you the skills, and make sure that you're competent to perform health assessment skills on a patient. So the MSN is 44 to 54 units, depending on if you're a family nurse practitioner or psych mental health. And then, like I mentioned, the postmasters is shorter, because hopefully we can take some of the classes you've already taken. Like I said, once you're admitted, we will do what's called a gap analysis and see what we can take. I will tell you that we are very, very well priced for what's out there in the community from LA down. We are very, very well priced. You will see that once you start comparing schools. You get a lot of value for that money. And obviously the postmasters is less expensive if there's less classes.
Before we move on to our BSN to DNP, I just want to remind folks that there is a Q&A box. If you're thinking of questions, you can type those in. It's okay if you think we might cover it later. We really do want to make sure that we answer all of your questions as we go through. So let's turn to the BSN to DNP.
All right, so this is a new program for us, one that we're very excited about, but one that's very different than our MSN, traditional MSN F&P. This is called a cohorted program, meaning it doesn't offer as much flexibility as our traditional MSN. The MSN with the 4 options for adult gero, psych, peds, and family are not cohorted, meaning you can take the classes when in the time frame that works for you, part-time, full-time, take a semester off, etc. It's very flexible for the working adult. The BSN to DNP, because of the way the program is in your doctoral project runs, it is a cohorted model, which means that you, once you start, it's a full-time progression in about 8 or 9 semesters more if needed for your project. So once you start with a certain group of friends, you finish with them. And so that's nice, because you really develop a collaboration and collegiality with people, but there's no stepping out of the program really if needed. Of course, if there's an emergency, of course, then that's you know, would be allowed. But generally you stay together and you finish the class together. So this is a terminal degree, and I know I will be answering some questions about, do you need a DNP to be a family nurse practitioner or adult gerontology nurse practitioner? And it leads you to different goals, but it's not necessary for practice. You can be prepared to practice as a nurse practitioner with both a master's and a DNP. All right, so this, I went ahead of myself, as I usually do. If you have me in class, you will find that I go ahead all the time. I always get ahead of myself. So this is 3 years full-time. There is a higher cost because it's more units, but you get out with a DNP, which is a terminal degree, meaning you do not need to go back to any more schooling. You can work as a family nurse practitioner, and with the DNP, you will be prepared for health systems change. So you will do more projects probably at your workplace. You'll be prepared to teach, to perhaps take on bigger leadership roles than just a master's prepared nurse. And so that's sort of the advantage of doing that.
Thank you for sharing all of that information. Before we get into our frequently asked questions, we do want to touch briefly on application deadlines and financial aid. Those are just some of the nuts and bolts details that everybody will ask us. We do accept new students into these programs in our fall term, which starts the end of August, and our spring term, which starts the beginning of January. So there are two different start terms each year where new students can start. Our next available start is that fall start, which will be starting at the end of August 2024. Our priority application deadline for students interested in starting in the fall is April 1st. We do continue reviewing applications after that priority deadline as space in the program allows, up to a final deadline of June 15th. If you're thinking about our January start, the priority deadline will be July 15th, and then we'll continue reviewing applications as space in the program allows through September 30th. There is a QR code for our application. We'll pop that up again at the end. But if any of you are really gung-ho to get started on your application, that QR code does take you right to our application. As far as financial aid goes, we touched a little bit on the total cost. Our tuition we charge by the unit. So you pay as you go based on the number of units that you're enrolled in each semester. So you'll see on this slide on the right-hand side is our per unit cost. The MSN tuition is $860 per unit. For the BSN to DNP, there's two different tuition rates based on the course level. So the 500 and 600 level courses are also at that $860 tuition rate, and the 700 level doctoral courses are charged at a rate of $1,160 per unit. If you're interested in financial aid, most of our students do take loans or use other types of aid for their program. There are a couple things that need to happen before you can receive an aid package. First, you need to be admitted to your program. And then second, you would need to complete a FAFSA for the appropriate academic year. Listed on this slide is our school code for the FAFSA. So if you are filling out a FAFSA, you do have to indicate APU as your school, or else we won't get it. Once you submit your FAFSA and have indicated APU as your school, it does take several days before our financial aid office will actually receive that information so they can begin preparing your package. So that's a little bit of the process with regard to financial aid. We also encourage students in this program to speak with their employers. Many of them have tuition assistance or stipend programs, and so it's always a good question to ask your HR department if they have programs like that. And then APU participates in a loan forgiveness program, and I asked Amanda if she'd share a little bit about the nurse faculty loan program.
Yes, this is the best kept secret that not a lot of nurses know about. So I make it my mission to let everyone know. In fact, I specifically requested the slide be in this program. This can be used if you want to obtain your MSN or the BSN to DNP. So what this is, it's a federal loan because nursing professors are in great shortage, as you probably know, and nursing schools are impacted because doesn't seem to be enough nursing professors. So because of that, the federal government responded and is willing to pay for 85% of your master's or your doctoral if you enroll in this loan program. What it does, though, is you have to take 4 extra education courses. It prepares you to teach. And then once you graduate, you have 9 months to find either a full-time teaching job, which I know a lot of nurse practitioners don't want to do, or 2 positions at another university. It says here part-time. I've heard they can be 2 adjunct positions as well. What happens then is your loan, you do not pay any money up front. Your loan is forgiven for 4 years, 25% each year, and 25% for 3 years, 10% for the 4th year, and you are left with a final bill of 15%. It is a wonderful program. I used it for my DNP and in the process of paying it off. And the great thing is you do not have to, put out any money. They pay your loan. They pay your tuition for you. So it's a really nicely hidden kept secret. We need to get the word out. And so you will be eligible to apply for this, but would need to take 4 additional courses.
Yeah, it is a great program, and not every university participates in this federal program. So
Mhm.
we have received approval to do that. So that is an option for our students. So let's turn to some of the most frequently asked questions. There's a lot of questions we get asked often, and so we're going to touch on the questions that come up repeatedly. And as we're doing that, if you have additional questions, or maybe if we don't answer it in a way that's completely clear to you, please keep typing your questions into the Q&A box so we can answer those if we have time at the end of our presentation. So our first question is, do I need to have a DNP to be certified as a nurse practitioner?
No, absolutely not. It is in 2 ways you can become a nurse, a practicing family nurse practitioner, adult general, pediatric, or psychiatric mental health. You need to be minimum of master's prepared. Like I mentioned before, the master's is perfectly acceptable and more common in the community to get your NP. The doctoral combines them and you get that together, but it's not required by any agency, hospital, doctor's office for you to practice as an NP. It's not required by the state of California. What it does, though, is it expands your education so that you become more of a change agent as a nurse practitioner. It's a health systems leadership focus. You really dive into a problem that nurse practitioners can fix, and you really learn how to do that. For instance, I studied food insecurity. I work at a free and charitable clinic in San Diego, and I took a deep dive into food insecurity. And long story short, it has turned into me opening a fresh food marketplace in my clinic to combat food insecurity. Never in a million years would I thought I'd do anything like that. But it just keeps developing. And I would never have done that had I not received my doctorate. And I practiced for 20 years with just my MSN. And I was very happy, got plenty of work. So it's really a personal preference and a personal goal. If you want to get your DNP right away after your BSN, or split them up and get your MSN first, then go back later when your family time, your personal time allows.
So are the NP programs at APU focused on primary care or acute care?
That is a very good question, because there's a lot of chatter about this in the community. One thing I will say that I love about working at Azusa is they require us to work out in the community. I work at my free clinic, and we all work within a health system in San Diego, and my colleagues and all the colleagues in LA, we all work within health systems. So we hear what's going on in the community. So what I've heard in the community is this. There was a time, we are primary care, by the way, not acute care. There was a time when there was such a shortage of acute care nurse practitioners, they were hiring family nurse practitioners as acute care nurse practitioners, relying on that nurse's critical care training to carry them through an acute care setting. You are not trained for that, but it's been happening due to a shortage. Right now, they're really looking at that, and if you're not certified as an acute care, then it's difficult to bill for your services. So we are primary care only, outpatient only program. It is not for someone who wants to work as an intensivist, as a neurocritical care NP, as a poem crit NP. That's really not part of our curriculum at all.
Thank you. So how often will I have to be on campus in the MSN or the post-MSN certificate programs? And then how often will I have to be on campus for the BSN to DNP?
Good questions, because I know you're all busy, and a lot of our students, they work full-time, which you can do in the MSN program, a little more tough in the BSN to DNP. We know you have families, we know that you're called into work for extra shifts, etc. So we try and make it as feasible as possible. The one semester that you're on campus weekly is for our advanced health assessment, which is our skills. And that's where we need you in lab weekly to show you skills and watch you, perform the skills on a patient. So that is one semester. It's about 3 or 4 semesters in where you come weekly. The rest of the time it's hybrid. You're basically on Zoom, listening to your professors, engaging on Zoom. Then once you've taken the base courses, you go into the clinical and you have class on Zoom, and then you go into the clinical and do your 540 hours out in the community. And so, and then you'll come in just once a semester for something called observed simulation, where we watch you see a patient who's an actor. For the BSN to DNP, it might be a little bit more. We have something called intensives, where you have a weekend of intensives. There are times where those might be on Zoom. There are times where this might be in person. For both programs, we offer suturing and x-ray interpretation, and so that's always in person as well. So it's not a whole big weekly commitment, except for that one semester for both programs for advanced health assessment.
And as I mentioned earlier, when we're talking about that in-person component, it's going to be at one of the campuses I mentioned earlier. So those locations are Monrovia, San Bernardino, and San Diego. So if there is an in-person component, when you sign up for the class, you'll know, is it the class with the lab and I'm going to have to come on this time once a week, or are you just going to be coming periodically for an intensive or another in-person experience, or perhaps not at all for some classes.
Mm-hmm.
So can I work while attending? We've kind of alluded to this, but can I work while attending the MSN or post-MSN certificate programs? And how much can I work while a student in the BSN to DNP accelerated program?
Yeah, once again, I went ahead of myself and talked about the next slide. So yes, like I said, we have many students that continue their 312s a week in the hospital in the MSN and post-master's certificate program. It's less cumbersome in the beginning before you hit the clinical courses. Once you start your 540 hours of clinical, it's more difficult to work those 3 12-hour shifts. Many people cut back, but it's certainly feasible. Many students continue to work full-time. The BSN to DNP, like I said, it's many more units per semester. It's cohorted, and it's more intense because you're doing your doctoral project as well as your hours as a nurse practitioner. So we recommend just cutting back to part-time for that program, per diem if you can afford it, because it is a very intense program and takes a lot of determination and adjusting of your schedule to get through, but not impossible.
So can you talk a little bit about what makes a good candidate for a nurse practitioner program?
Yes, when you apply, the biggest thing I tell prospective students is just brag about yourself. Anything you've ever done, any award you've received, conferences you've attended, precepting, all of that. There's things you think that might not even make a difference. We look at all of that. We look to see your leadership, your collaboration. Are you a helper around your unit? Have you received a DAISY award or a Catch Me Caring or any sort of service or excellence award? Put that down. Have you served on a unit-based council? Have you led a skin champion or fall champion project on your unit? Tell us all about yourself. High-level volunteer experience. Have you done a mission trip? Have you done a homeless clinic? Have you done a medical service project? Let us know if you speak another language. That is really helpful as a nurse practitioner, or if you feel you're semi-fluent in a language, or if you feel you're competent culturally in another culture. And that can be not necessarily another language, but that could be perhaps care of our unhoused friends or our friends that are immigrants. And so it can mean many things. So just really brag about yourself.
You'll see when you start an application, we do ask for a short essay and a resume. And that resume or CV is really a great place to put all of the things that Amanda's talking about and that we've listed here. Just show it. And of course, it's going to show your experience in different units and places that you've worked, but really expanding upon that and sharing those extra things so we can get to know more about you, what you're passionate about, and how you're involved in the field of nursing. So, do you help with clinical placements?
We absolutely do. This is one of those areas that no matter which school you go to, no matter how much you pay, placements are difficult because there's competition with medical schools in California, with PA schools, with lots of nurse practitioner schools, with out-of-state and online nurse practitioner schools. We do have a placement team which consists of 3 full-time faculty now, 3 full-time staff, and a part-time staff, and myself. And what we do is we ask that you partner with us. Here's why. We have about 1,000 affiliations in all of Southern California and down. It doesn't mean every office takes a student every semester, or that we can get all 1,000 sites every semester, but we have a lot of affiliation agreements. And so we connect you as close as we can to your area of residence, and connect you with a physician, a health system. You can precept with a nurse practitioner, a PA, a midwife for women's health, an MD, and a DO. And so we make every effort we can to place you, but there are some times when you can get a placement that we can't. If you have a neighbor who's a pediatrician who really doesn't like to take students, but will take you because you're their friend, you can get in there. And if I cold called and said, hey, will you take a student? They'd say no. So that's why we ask you to partner with us. It really, really does work. We ask you from the very beginning class that you take to start thinking about any networking opportunities you have. We ask you to join California Association of Nurse Practitioners, where you go to monthly dinners and you sit in a room with nurse practitioners and you network and you help us find placement. We have really good luck. We place 90, I would say on average, 98% of students a semester. And we do everything we can to ensure placement. If for some reason 1 or 2 students are dropped, they get priority the next semester. But we really try. We have many semesters where we're 100%. So it is tough, not only in Azusa, but everywhere. And I'm just really honest about that, because that is a source of frustration for students, but we do everything we can to mitigate that.
So, what is the process for being certified as an NP when you finish your program?
Well, we give you the hours and the education that you need to be certified either through the American Nurses Credentialing Center or the AANP, American Association of Nurse Practitioners. You can choose which certification you want. Either one is just fine. Interestingly, in California, you can practice without being certified, but for billing, for getting hired, you need to be certified. So we give you pre and post tests to see if you're ready. We have lots of discounts with partners that help prepare you for the test, and then you can sit for certification right after you graduate, and meanwhile look for a job as well. So we are recognized by the BRN. We fulfill the educational requirements, and we make sure that you have all your pharmacology requirements and that you are eligible to sit for boards.
So students in our program, they are able to get their furnishing license as part of?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, you can get it without being certified, because California does not require a certification. So by nature of the hours that we provide in pharmacology and by nature of the education we give you on controlled substances, the minute you graduate and do your application, you can get your NP license and your furnishing number.
Great. So is there an option to complete a DNP at APU after I complete my MSN? So for those students that might opt to go the MSN route initially, is there an option for them?
100% yes, please. In fact, we ask that you just continue right on. I split my MSN and my DNP, and that was what worked for me. At the time when I went back to school, I had small children, and I couldn't even have fathomed going straight to a DNP from my BSN. That just wasn't what I wanted. So, like I said, I got plenty of jobs with my NMSN, and had a very successful career, and then went to teach, and then got my DNP just a year ago. So, it's okay to split it up, and if that works for you, great. But if you're gung-ho and you want to just do it all at once, that's amazing too. It is an amazing journey to get your doctorate and just see how you can be a change agent. But yes, you could just finish, you could get your MSN, work as an NP, and then get your DNP slowly while you work. And you can use the Nurse Faculty Loan Program for the DNP after you get your MSN.
Yeah, and that program at APU is online. It's a 2-year program.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good option if you are kind of wanting to split the two parts and maybe separate them by a few years of working as a nurse practitioner before you're ready to come back for that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Amanda, for answering those questions. We have been getting some other questions in our Q&A box, so I'm gonna put a couple other questions to you. So one of the questions we are asked is, what is the amount of units you can take each semester in the postmaster's program? So is there a max number of units?
Yeah, we really say full-time is 6 units, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're working full-time and trying to complete a difficult pharmacology class, advanced pathophysiology, that's enough to gather those 2 classes. So 6 units is our full-time, and no more than 180 hours of clinical in a semester.
Yeah, most of our classes are 3 units. So if you're taking 2 classes, that's going to probably put you at the 6 unit. And if you're wanting part-time, it would just be 1 class or 3 units. And again, you'll be paying as you go for the tuition. So if you're going part-time, it's going to be less per term. And then, you know, obviously more if you're taking 2 classes at a time. We have some specific questions about the psych mental health NP program, and what kind of experience are you looking for specifically for someone that's wanting to apply to either the MSN or the postmaster's certificate program for psych mental health?
Thank you for saying that, because that is one you absolutely have to have psych experience as an RN. That is a absolute hard stop there. Here's the reason why. Like I said, psych mental health NPs have become so popular because you can walk in and name your price, how much money you want to make as a psych NP. We don't want you to go into it for the money. We want you to go into it because it's your calling, and that's what you feel makes you thrive. That is our goal here at Azusa Pacific. You will get to know us individually as professors. We will champion for you, but most of all, we want you to find the thing that really makes you zing. Because you've worked as a psych nurse, and what I found is you either really feel passionate about it, you can do it, or you work as a nurse and you're like, I can't do psych. And so that's why we make you have that experience, so that you know if it's for you or not. So that is I think 1 year is the minimum requirement for the experience.
So to piggyback on that, someone else asked, how much experience do you need to be a strong candidate for any of the NP programs? So you mentioned having a year for that psych experience. Is that the same for the other programs?
Yeah, I would say a year minimum for sure. And if you have a year minimum of nursing and you're going for family nurse practitioner, we really would hope in that year that you have been on some committees, gotten yourself involved in the unit, have some strong outside volunteer experience, and strong cultural competency. More than a year is helpful. The more experience you have, the better. But really, we look at a very well-rounded individual and someone who's motivated to really serve others.
Thank you. Can you speak to whether our programs are suitable for someone who wants to work at an urgent care?
Absolutely. We have a lot of our graduates in urgent cares, and we have a lot of preceptors in urgent cares. Right now, one of our faculty works urgent care, and it's a really great place for NPs. A lot of time they work in an ER, but in the fast track side of it. So what you would do is, and that's where I think the family nurse practitioner comes in so handy, because you can treat anyone from birth to 99 years old and up. You learn all the chronic conditions as well as outpatient acute conditions, the upper respiratory infections, bronchitis, the asthma, the skin rashes, the everything. You'll get all that for your program, and you are very well suited for urgent care. Absolutely.
Nice. So another participant asks, can I be a full-time student in one semester and switch to part-time later?
For the MSN portion, 100%. Absolutely. For the BSN to DNP, cohorted and full-time only. But yes, a lot of our MSN students enjoy the flexibility. You can take a semester off. People get married, people have babies, they just need a break. And so absolutely, you can switch up full-time, part-time, semester off in the MSN.
Does experience as an LVN in a psychiatric setting count for your experience if you're applying for psych mental health?
I really think the answer is no for that. I think that's been asked before. I'm not the director of the psych, but knowing what I know, I believe the answer is no to that.
So it sounds like I think we've covered a lot of your questions. If you have questions, I want to give you kind of one more opportunity to put those in. I wanted to remind you of our application deadlines. So our next available start term is our fall term, which will start the last week of August. And the priority deadline is April 1st. We do encourage applicants to start their application early and to get things in by the priority deadline. If we have space in the program after we review that initial batch of applications, we will continue reviewing them. But we never know how quickly students and how many students will apply by that priority deadline. So we do encourage you to submit for that. If you're thinking ahead to next year and wanting to start in January, the priority deadline will be July 15th. On the slide that I'm showing now, there is the phone number and email address for our graduate and professional admissions office. You're absolutely welcome to reach out to us there. The QR code on the left side is information on, if you use that, you can request information on a specific program. So as we've gone over the different programs, if you're realizing, oh, I think I inquired about BSN to DNP, but I really am more interested in the MSN option, or I didn't know you had postmaster's certificates and that's a better fit for me. You can use that QR code to request information, and someone from our admissions office will reach out to you. And then again, on the right side is the QR code that takes you into our online application. We have our own online application. It's set up so that you can go in and out, adding things as you have them ready. And so that is listed on this screen again. We had a couple other questions come in. What day is the weekly on-site usually scheduled? Is that the same at each of our campuses? Or?
Hey, good question. It's not the same. In Empire, it's Thursdays. In Azusa, it might be Mondays. So it's different for each campus, but it's 3 hours a week during that on-site, and you will know a semester ahead of time what day and time it is.
And then we had someone ask, is your BSN to DNP, the F&P track, suitable for someone who wants to work in a hospital setting?
If you mean by hospital setting being an FNP on the floor in acute care, then unfortunately, no, we are primary care only. FNP is only trained in our curriculum to do outpatient. If you mean perhaps an urgent care fast track side of the ER, then yes. So I guess it depends on where in the hospital, but generally we are trained in all of our programs for outpatient. Although I will say this, palliative care rounds in the hospital, and they are generally outpatient, and some oncology services and liver transplant services are primarily outpatient that do some rounding inpatient. So something like that could work, depending on what it is.
One of the questions we received are all of the classes for the BSN to DNP program offered in San Bernardino County, or would those students perhaps sometimes need to go to the Azusa campus?
No, everything is offered on all campuses. And the intensive might be, maybe the 2 days might be in Azusa instead of inland. So there might be a little bit of driving, but everything generally, since we're mostly hybrid, is offered every semester.
And then we were asked, what are the differences between adult gerontology NP program and the FNP program in regards to the curriculum?
Good. One big difference is adult gerontology does not take a pediatric rotation and family nurse practitioner does. So adult gerontology only learns how to care for 18 and up, and family is birth to death. So while the FNP students are taking pediatric rotation, the adult gerontology students are taking adult gerontology rotation. So for those of you that have no desire to wrangle a 2-year-old and vaccinate them, you can consider the adult gerontology program.
We were asked if we have a leadership certificate program.
Well, that's a whole separate program. It's the Healthcare Administrative Leadership, MSN, but there's not necessarily a certificate with the FNP.
Yeah, we do. So we do have postmaster's certificates. So I'm guessing if maybe somebody's thinking maybe they want to add leadership after they complete the NP portion. So that could be an option. It's just not something that's incorporated into those NP programs. But we do have postmaster's certificate programs in both nursing education and healthcare administration, as well as our clinical nurse specialist programs, in addition to these nurse practitioner programs that we offer. So there are some other options for certificates that you can do after you complete your MSN for one of the NP specialties. Or if you've done an MSN in some other area, you can do a postmaster's certificate in any of our specialty areas. The next question is, does FNP enable someone to work for dermatology in an outpatient office?
Absolutely, 100%. We have graduates that work in medical derm and med spas. And I know med spas are very popular. We just don't allow any medical aesthetic spa rotations during your hours because it's not chronic illness necessarily, but we do allow a medical dermatology rotation. And so, yes, you are prepared to do either, like I said, medical dermatology or aesthetics when you graduate.
Nice. Well, I think that is most of our questions. Hopefully, we were able to provide you with the information that you needed to help you figure out which of our programs might be a better match for your life and that work-life balance you're probably trying to go for, and that will ultimately help you reach your goals with regard to becoming a nurse practitioner. We just thank you again for attending and listening to us, and please do reach out if you have additional questions. We hope to connect with you personally very soon. Thanks and good night.
Stephanie, can I say one last thing?
Sure.
I wanted to add that all of the faculty, you might have mentioned this, are currently working as nurse practitioners, so you do have real life experience. And I also wanted to add that one of our cornerstones is service. There are trips that are available for you to and we are taking a trip to Mexico over Easter break for 4 days to service a migrant camp. So we try and practice what we preach. We are out there working in the community alongside many of our students. We take students as preceptors. And so you do get, like I said, to know your faculty when you join the APU. difference maker community. So thank you.
Thanks for adding that, Amanda. That is so important, and I do think it's part of what makes our program special. We did record our webinar tonight, so we will post it on our website in a week or so if you want to review it. I know we covered a lot of things. Sometimes people like to go back and watch it again. And so again, we just thank you for your time tonight, and please reach out to us if we can assist you as you consider these programs. Good night.